Hi, this is Steve Webster. Thanks for joining today's thought. And today, I think as a Christian, there is news that sometimes is a insult to the Christian faith, and some of this news can be intimidating, like say in the sciences. And instead of just reporting factual information, in some instances, these news articles will wrap around their belief system. So one will need to say, okay, forget the fluff around it. What's the actual science? Does it support some theories that may have predictions? Uh, Big Bang Theory. Does this particular thing support the Big Bang Theory? Evolution theory, theory of evolution, same thing. And then I've mentioned there's something called the hydroplate theory that it's just another theory and it has predictions. Are some of those predictions happening? So there's a lot of fluff in a lot of these news articles to say, nope, ignore that, ignore this. This is it. Like it's a law of science, but it's not. So as Christians, I find insulting that this is happening, and it has been happening for decades. And I, for one, think that we need to push back on it, at least to ourselves, to say, okay, what is the science that may supplement evidence of the creation account in this case? So let me share my screen and I'll show you what I mean to think through some of these things and get to the science. Thanks. Okay, so here is like a Facebook account, and I get feeds from a local Fox 13 affiliate here. Tampa Bay is not too far from us. So I don't know if I can enlarge this a little bit. So I get this new sample. I said, great. So I click on it. I guess it takes me to here. So it's like, good. Been waiting a while. So if you're not familiar with this project, basically, I believe there was a launch, I think from Cape Canaveral years ago to say, well, go to a nearby asteroid, gather some of its content and bring it back and drop it off. In this case, it dropped it off, renamed the project, and now that same launch has orbited the Earth, heading towards I think a moon with liquid on it around Jupiter. So it's going to take a while to get there, but it was like 6-7 years in the making to just drop off back to Earth. I believe it landed by parachute in Utah, and carefully to they didn't want cross contamination. They wanted everything from the asteroid. They didn't want to have a bad situation where contamination of the Earth screwed things up. So great care went into that, including taking it from there to there. They even took pictures and samples around the dust, the dirt nearby this capsule that came back from outer space, so they could further to say, well, were these in the sample? Because that means contamination. So they took due diligence, and that is a good thing. So here you see, I guess I'll try to zoom in here. Here you see the name of the project. And then you see this. And then you see this. The samples contain building blocks of life and provide more evidence that asteroids may have planted the seed of life on Earth. Well, that's an insult. That is an insult. You can't say that you believe in the creation account and say, well, these were the seeds of life. That's an insult to me. And it should be an insult to many people who have their faith in the Bible. So, what is the science? So, if you scroll down, why do they keep wrapping around their ideology, their belief? I don't know. But you can see it's kind of a round asteroid that they landed on. And then you come down here. They returned with 4 ounces of dust and pebbles from the near Earth asteroid. Not a lot, but it's kind of a lot. Japan has landed on asteroids twice before, by the way. It's not the first time, but apparently they say it's the largest of the samples. By the way, when it collected the sample, it couldn't stay there long, nor did it want to, because asteroids are held loosely together. Um, I believe in some of the predictions of a theory that I like, that the inner part will be the heaviest and largest of the rocks, maybe some water too. And then on top of that, you have looser material. And that's what we see in a video or GIF or GIF file, that a lot of dust was going on. But anyhow, so here it says the swimming-rich minerals had the presence of amino acids, nitrogen in the form of ammonia, and even parts of the genetic code, DNA, RNA stuff. And then it goes on. It says one of the biggest surprises was relatively high abundance of nitrogen, including ammonia, while all the other organic molecules found in Bennu samples have been identified before meteorites. Yeah, sometimes meteorites will fall to Earth, hopefully without too much contamination. They can crack up a meteorite and see what's inside. So they've done that, and they've seen similar results. Glavin said the ones from Bennu are valid, real extraterrestrial organic material formed in space and not as a result of contamination on Earth. Well, that was the goal, right? So the goal was not to examine the results with contamination from Earth as it came back. However, what is this really saying? The real extraterrestrial organic material formed in space. Well, that's a belief system. So as a Christian, it's like, well, no, it may not have been formed in space, especially if you're talking about things that are also found on Earth. So they're trying to build a case to say, well, I don't believe in the creation account at all. Asteroids were formed somehow, and meteorites and asteroids hit Earth, and that's how we got all this water, which is ridiculous. But let's go on. So what are they saying? That's a kind of environment that could have been essential to the steps that lead from elements to life. Again, no, it doesn't prove that. That's what you're hoping for. So then you keep going, and then I did find, let's see, where was it? A link, I think was to this, and I went to a NASA website. So I said, okay, still some more fluff, as I call it, and reporting in the Journal of Nature. It's like, okay, I clicked on that. Well, let me click it again. Or no, I had to go to incognito because there was nothing here that says that I don't want to accept all the cookies. So, so let me go to my incognito here. Yes, this is the nature one up here. So this is the same one. So it's like, okay, skip the fluff. Let's get into the science again. So it says evaporation or freezing of water-rich fluids will dilute concentrations of dissolved salts, can produce brines, and observed in closed basins on Earth and detected by remote sensing on icy bodies in the outer solar system. So this is supporting the flood event, because in the previous videos I've made, it talks about the firmament that God put in on day 2 and then concluded on day 3. And there's waters above, waters below, and I'm saying that's the crust, right? Many people say, well, that's got to be the crust because we have water above, and we believe, based on scripture, there's water below. So once a month or every 2 months, you see news reports that say, oh, they found water underneath the crust, underneath this area of the crust. It's like, yes, because that's what God's word says, right? And there's other evidences. So if the great deep opened up, then a lot of water underneath the crust, and the crust is, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 miles thick, a lot of granite. So imagine the weight of that and the gravity pushing on the water, and there's a term called supercritical water, and it's closer to the mantle, of course, and it can get hot, plus the pressures. You got the moon twice a day. There's this pumping action because the Earth does have an effect, as you can see on ocean waves from the moon. So some of that could be happening underneath the Earth's crust as well. So there's pumping action, there's supercritical water, and there's maybe some gravity, some more pressure, and things like that. Well, eventually the great deep opens up according to God's word, and it's like, well, what would we expect if we're scientists with PhDs at the end of our names? And there are such scientists that have created another theory called the hydroplate theory. It's just a theory, just like evolution, the theory of evolution, the Big Bang theory, and whatever else. So it's like, okay, well, based on the hydroplate theory formed by scientists, engineers, it's like, okay, some of the crust through the water, because we see flood events, unfortunately, happening times on Earth, and we see the destruction it can do. But it basically takes um, stuff around the water. As it gets a lot of water, the land and the dirt will come with it, the levels, and sometimes it's rocks. And today, when we go to a river, let's say it's calm, we go fishing, do we see jagged rocks everywhere? No, we see round rocks because water will tumble the rocks into the formation of roundness of rocks. We just know that, right? So in this case, we would expect some of this great deep coming up to put water back on Earth to flood it. But of course, there's erosion from the crust all the way around the Earth, which we can see on Earth. If we go to Google's Earth.com, Google Earth, whatever, we see the cracks all the way around the Earth, the leftover of the event. And so we would expect some rocky material going up. And if it's such great force with such high temperatures, not only does it go up in the atmosphere, but some of it can actually go into outer space because in the hydroplate theory, a lot of scientists have said, well, that's a lot of pressure. So we would expect to see what we call asteroids and comets. I can give a link to that if you want to do a deep dive, nerdy sense. Even though it's scientific, they kind of bring it down to more our level too, I suppose. So anyhow, so if this is saying evaporation or freezing water of rich fluids, well, fluids are on Earth. We have water on Earth. Freezing of water, well, yeah, if it goes to outer space, it's going to freeze. Dilute concentration of dissolved salt. Okay, so the water had salt. Yeah, we would expect that. So the peeling back the fluff, you say, well, what did you actually find? Right? And then in part of this, I read there's a magnet. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Go back here, Control F. Here we go. Early analysis of samples from recorded evidence of pervasive aqueous alternation, including hydrated phyllosilicate, clay minerals, carbonates, magnetite. It's like, wait, what is that? I look it up. What is it? It says a magnet iron oxide mineral that occurs naturally in earth rocks. And that's one of the predictions of the hydroplate theory that comets you will find rocks could be magnetized. Small sample came from it, and that's what they found. So it's supporting another theory over and over again. What will we expect to see? We expect to see their results. So that's why sometimes it's like, okay, they can't help themselves to say, well, I have to put in my belief system around it in my reporting. But as you look at it, it's like, no, you don't have to. You don't have to do that. So I think that's enough of what I was trying to explain to you. So I would just say when you read news articles, don't be intimidated, especially don't take it as truth. You got to keep digging into the sciences. Well, what did you find? What are some of the theories that could support the worldwide flood of things going into outer space? And then one could say, well, yeah, but isn't there an asteroid belt? Isn't there comets? I mean, that's a lot. You're saying all that came from the flood? Well, yeah. If you add up the entire mass of all the asteroids and comets, I don't know. I think some of the predictions are from 5 to 7, maybe leaning towards 8% of the Earth's crust is now in our solar system. and 95% of it is found in the asteroid belt. And a lot of the rocks that you find on the asteroids, as they explore some of them, even the largest one, they see rounding of rocks being held together loosely. And that's what we would expect, because if a rock is coming through 60 miles of granite, tumbling its way through in quick force, you would expect some rounding, for goodness sakes. So that's my thought of the day, and I will now share the hydroplate theory. If you go to, let's see. Okay, so if you go to, there's an online version of this particular theory that, yes, they're Christians, but they're also scientists with PhDs. The person who originally wrote this is no longer with us, but he was for quite a while, where some of the results from the Japanese exploration is labeled here too. See if I can enlarge that. I will just use my post-editing capability to enlarge this. So creationscience.com, online book, asteroids2.html, blah, blah, blah. This is the latest edition, the 9th edition to it. So you can come here if you want to nerd out and stuff like that. So like, just like all theories, you have predictions. Asteroids are rock piles, often with internal ice acting as a weak glue. Large rocks that began the capture process are near the centers of the asteroids and comets. And then down here it says 4 years after publishing this prediction, measurements of the largest asteroid found that it does indeed have a dense rocky core and mantle primary of water ice. Prediction true. January 23rd, 2014, it was announced that 2 jets of water vapor were discovered escaping from the largest comet at a combined rate of 13 pounds per second. Prediction true. This prediction, most of the rocks, publicized and larger, comprise asteroids and comets, will be found to be rounded to some degree. This rounding occurred as the rocks tumbled and were eroded in powerful fountains of the great deep, just as rocks are tumbled and rounded in fast-flowing streams, which we see every day. And then, sure enough, the European Space Administration announced on December 18, 2014, that huge rounded boulders, 1 to 3 meters in diameter, are stacked layer upon layer all over this comet. They jokingly call them dinosaur eggs and believe they could be the basic building blocks that clump together to form comets. So basically, they're saying the prediction is true. Then we have another prediction: asteroids spinning faster than 10 rotations per day will be found to be a single well-rounded rocks. Scroll down here. And then there's some cases like, well, how about solid rock with these lines? So they go into that. There's basically two interpretations. Here it is. Look at this. This is a prediction, which is, I guess we could say now true based on what I just read. Most rocks comprising asteroids will be found to be magnetized. It's a prediction of a theory, and it's a model of the theory. And I just read to you, that's what they just found. It, again, supporting the theory. So we have nothing to be concerned about. Water ice on asteroids will be rich in that, not confirmed yet. A deep penetrating impact on a large asteroid such as Ceres will release vast volumes of water vapors, which we've already done. It's already been confirmed. Let's see. Rocks in asteroids are typical of the Earth's crust. Expensive efforts of mining them will be a waste of your money. So it's interesting how sometimes you can go into certain things like that. Okay, so we go into some science stuff, some engineering stuff. And I found this interesting, which I clicked over here real quick as I wrap up. Meteorites return home. So here's an account that in Salt of the Earth on 22nd of March 1998, this 2 3/4 pound meteorite landed 40 feet from boys playing basketball. Wow. That was in Texas. While the rocks was, while the rock was still warm, police were called. Hours later, NASA scientists cracked the meteorite open in a clean room laboratory, eliminating any possibility of contamination. Oh, yeah, that's the hope. Inside were salt crystals in diameter and liquid water. Okay, we expect that if it came from the Earth's crust, up to 60 miles of granite, water pushing through not just the water beneath, through that to the waters above it, which I think the Bible calls seas, and it goes, we would expect the meteorite coming back to Earth to have that. Then it continues, some salt crystals are shown in the blue circle, highly magnified, see that, and in true color. So it's magnified. So it goes on here. So I think I can wrap it up here. So all these things support the biblical account thus far. If you peel back the fluff of putting in their theory, I'd like to know, tell me all the theories, give me your best arguments for each. And if you have a favorite theory, what is your argument for that favorite theory? Because right now it's like I'm sorry to keep going, but um, let me go through this real quick. Minerals and isotopes of meteorites are similar to those of Earth. Hundreds of meteorites called that contain tiny diamonds, blah, blah, blah. Some meteorites contain sugars and salts, which we were reading already today. Other meteorites contain limestone, which on Earth apparently forms only in liquid water. So it's like, okay. Many meteorites have excess amounts of left-handed amino acids. Okay. NASA has found DNA components in 12 meteorites. A few meteorites show that salt-rich foods. Okay, actually, I want to get to. Let's see. Yeah. Many meteorites have excess amounts of left-handed amino acids, which the news from a couple of days ago says that. It kind of repeats it, actually. A sign of once living matter, because normally you have both left and right-handed amino acids. Because of living matter, you have mostly left. So they find mostly left. Again, from Earth, right? So there's all these things. 78 types of living bacteria have been found in 2 meteorites from Earth. So, and I think it says the Earth could not have formed from meteorites. So if you want to learn more about this, I'll leave the link to the website in the description. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed today's thought of the day.